Well, hello everyone. This is Gregory Zelfand, and let's get started with Project Collaboration with Office 365 Groups webinar. So folks, before we begin, just a couple of very brief announcements. So first of all, this session is recorded, and I will be posting a video on my YouTube channel, and you can access my YouTube channel by following the link that is included in the slide deck. Typically, when I deliver my webinars and show off the different functionality in SharePoint, it really doesn't matter which version of SharePoint you have, whether you are running it on premises or online, or if you're running SharePoint 2010 or 2013. With today's topic, you really need to be online if you, as part of Office 365, if you have SharePoint 2010 or if you have SharePoint later versions of SharePoint installed on premises, the functionality I'm going to show you today is not available. You really have to be in the cloud, in SharePoint Online, or part of Office 365 suite. So just wanted to highlight that. I do have some slides that I want to share with you, and essentially is the whole slide deck that I will be presenting during today's session. You can download it by going to Handouts section and just downloading a PDF file that you see there. You can do so for the next hour or so. And the slide deck contains some of the information, some of the screenshots I will be showing you today, but at the end, it also contains a number of different URLs, website URLs. I did publish a number of blog posts on Office 365 Groups and specifically project management with Office 365 Groups. So you can go ahead and obviously follow those URLs if you download the slide deck. Also, we do have a full session today, which means everyone is on mute. However, I really want to keep it informal. So if you do have a question, don't hesitate. Just type your question into the chat window, and I will be more than happy to answer your question as we proceed. We will have about 10 minutes at the end, hopefully, dedicated to Q&A. So we will also address your questions then. And lastly, I will provide my contact information, and you can send me an email if you have a question as well. All right. Okay, let's proceed. All right, just for those of you who have not attended my previous training sessions or webinars, let me introduce myself. I'm Greg Zelfand. I'm an independent SharePoint consultant. Have been using SharePoint for more than 10 years. Big advocate of SharePoint platform. And one unique thing about me is that everything that I do for my clients in SharePoint is out of the box. I do not utilize any custom coding, and I do not utilize any third-party tools. And what I do for a living, I consult organizations on best practices. I help organizations migrate to SharePoint, SharePoint Online, and I obviously do lots and lots of training. And then today's topic actually specifically is kind of dear to my heart. My background, besides being a SharePoint consultant, I spent about 15 years in IT project management. So I used different systems, including SharePoint for project management, so definitely have lots of experience in that area as well. So here's the agenda for today. We'll first talk about all the available options in SharePoint and Office 365 when it comes to project management. We will then, essentially spend a good chunk of time today talking about all the different features that are available in Office 365. And as I said, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And please do not wait till the end. Go ahead and just type your question into the chat window, and I will do my best to answer that. All right, so let's take a look at different project management options. And for some of you, this might be a repeat. If you have attended my previous webinars, you probably have seen this slide before. So what are the options available to us if we want to manage projects in SharePoint? So historically, we had this kind of three boxes on the right. We had document sets if we wanted to just manage documents, organize our files a little bit better. Document sets are essentially folders with metadata. Then, of course, the staple of SharePoint, the project theme site. This has been an option, it seems like, forever in SharePoint. So we historically obviously used SharePoint theme sites to organize and manage content the way we wanted it. And lastly, the other option available to us was always another Microsoft tool called Project Server. We also call it Project Online for those of you who have it in the cloud these days, or some of you may maybe call it Project Web App. And essentially, it's a formal it's a PPM, a project and portfolio management tool, kind of very complicated to set up, but it does have all the portfolio and project management capabilities. And then of course what we're going to talk about today is this fourth option, the Office 365 group, and I'll come back to why we have such an option now these days, and why we really needed that option in addition to the three that we had. So before we do that, look, I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of this webinar, it's really your decision which option is best for your organization, and the decision should really be based on many, many factors. And maybe you will decide that Office 365 Groups is not really for you or not really for your organization. But at the end of the day, before you make a decision on which of this options to choose, you really need to ask yourself, or your employees, your organization, what are the problems you're trying to solve? Are you maybe looking just for some consistency with documentation? In that case, maybe a team site with some metadata is the way to go. Maybe you're trying to consolidate various information sources. Maybe you're trying to enforce project management methodology, and maybe you will choose PPM, the Project Online or Project Server tool. Are you trying to really spice up your project management office and create fancy dashboards and reporting? Or maybe all you need is kind of an informal meeting space. So depending on how you answer those questions, they will help you really get to the right decision point as far as which of these tools you will use at the end of the day for your organization. And some things to keep in mind is, look, at the end of the day, you also need to keep the following in mind. You need to be aware of what is the project management discipline and maturity within your organization. Look, if you don't really have any formal methodology, if you really don't have a lot of your staff educated in formal project management processes, maybe PPM is not a way to start your project management efforts. You also need to understand the maturity, kind of the SharePoint or even technical maturity within your organization. That's a critical factor as well. You need to know your audience. Who are you creating those team spaces, whether they're team sites, Office 365 groups? Is it for internal folks? Is it for your external vendors and clients, etc.? So you really need to know who your audience is. And lastly, it's all about user adoption and training. For those of you who are following my webinars, training, and blogs, I'm very, very big on user adoption and training. At the end of the day, whatever route you go, it's not about the technology that you choose. It's all about user adoption and training of your end users. So you really need to keep that into the account. All right, so let's talk about Office 365 groups. So let's first, and by the way, so what I have next is I'm going to switch at this point to online and do the remainder of the training of this webinar, online. But obviously, as I said, I do have some screenshots here for you to enjoy, and some blog posts for you to enjoy in the slide deck. So definitely feel free to check it out in your spare time. So let's talk about Office 365 groups and why do we have this option now? So here is my intranet built in SharePoint with different team sites and stuff. And let me go and show you an example of a team site built in SharePoint. All right, so here is my project management office site, and I have a dashboard of all the projects. That's great. Let me make it to the project site now. And most of you maybe, I hope, are familiar with what the team site is. I mean, obviously, what I show you right now is just my take at the project team site. In your case, it could look different, but that's team site. SharePoint team site has been kind of historically a staple of SharePoint. That's what we use historically to manage and organize content, manage our projects. And the beauty about this, it was really great in terms of customization. I mean, no team site ever look the same, right? You could really do wonders with custom metadata and specify the specific web part. You really could alter the look and feel the way you wanted. However, the major complaint about SharePoint team sites was that, let's say I need a new team site, even if you have the proper privileges in your environment, you kind of go in and create a new team site, a new sub-site, and you have to fill in all the details. It doesn't take long to fill the screen, but there is a lot of decision making that goes into creating a site. You really need to, okay, then the title, I'm sure it doesn't take long for you to type it in, but you really need to know, where do you need to create a site, which site collection you need to create your site in. You really need to know where in your site collection hierarchy you need to create your sub-site. Then, of course, you have to make a decision on the template. And then the security is a big thing. You really have to make lots of decisions about permission levels and security, different security groups, navigation. Long story short, there is a lot of decision making that goes into building a team site, and you really need to know what you are doing to build a team site. Maybe it's okay if you are doing like a 2-year project and maybe spending half an hour, even an hour, making the decisions on building the site. Is normal. But if you're doing maybe a 2-week project or something, that's a big no-no. You really need something, to be set up relatively quickly. And then, of course, after you create the site, right, for the most part, you have to design it and customize it. So once again, really took a lot of time to build the site, etc. Let me see. I think I have some questions. Okay. Question from Carolyn. How do you customize the column on the group side? I'm not sure, Carolyn, what you're asking. I believe I know what you're asking. I will try to address it when I show you the demo of the groups. And if I forget it, please remind me. Thank you, Carolyn. All right, so this was the team site. So then what Microsoft did about 2 years ago is essentially they said, look, we really need a simpler option. That's what the customers demanded. And they introduced Office 365 groups. And the idea behind Office 365 groups is that there is very little decision making for you in terms of setting this up, and it doesn't take very long to set it up either. And you really, end up with something that you end up with a team space that easy to navigate. There are not too many options like on a team site, and that's pretty much it. So that's what kind of the idea behind this. That Office 365 groups would be for those projects that do not really need any specific configuration, any specific security settings, etc., something that you could pretty much set up on the fly. And that brings us into Office 365 groups. So to access Office 365 groups, there are 2 ways for you to access and create Office 365 groups. You can either do it from your Outlook, from Mail, if you go to Mail, or OneDrive, doesn't really matter. I usually prefer, right, most of us spend a lot of time in Outlook, so let's go to Outlook and see what's going on. All right, perfect. So this is my Outlook account, and over here, as you see, I already created all these different groups. And we'll go ahead actually and create one right now, on the fly. But let me just show you what the group that's already been set up looks like. All right. So once again, I'll come back to the screen. Let's go. I want to show you first. Let's go ahead and create a new group, and let me carry you through this process. So to create a new group, you just click a plus button over here, and you have this menu. And let's pick a name for our group. Let's see. Okay. Actually, let's do this. We have election coming up in the US, so let's do election day prep or something. Let's see. Okay, so that's the name of my group. It automatically, and by the way, this is really critical. It creates automatically an email address, and this is really important. I'll come back for that and explain what that means. It creates an email address for this group, and then you can add a description to that to the group, whatever it is. Now, and then we have to set security. Now, remember with the SharePoint team site, if you break inheritance, if you create your own permission levels, there are all these different groups, members, visitors, site owners, and then you have these different permission levels, contribute, design, edit, full control, read-only. There is none of that here. It's nice and simple. There are only two options for you to choose from. There is public and private. Let me explain to you the difference. So by default, your group, no matter whether you set it public or private, will be discoverable. That means that everyone will see your group in the universe of other Office 365 groups. However, if I set it to public, that means that anyone within my organization can go in and they discover my group, they find it through the search, and they will be able to pretty much go inside of the group, see the conversations, the files, access all the data without being the member of the group. If I choose private, only the team members that I add to my group will be able to see what's inside. So that's really the difference. Once again, and depending, of course, on really simple, just two options for you to choose from. So let's do public one for this example, and then I guess you can set up a language. Let's keep it as is, and then the last thing you can do, you can actually subscribe new members, and this is where the conversation piece. Remember that email address right here? You can actually subscribe new members. What that means is that anyone who I will add as a team member to my group will get email notifications anytime there is a new conversation taking place, for example. So you know what? Let's leave it out for now. Let's just go ahead and create a group. Okay. The group creation was very quick. Compare that to the team site. Remember, it's much, much quicker. And let's go ahead and add a couple of users, couple of team members right in here. We can do it later, by the way. So let's add a couple of users, hit add, and here we go. That's it. That was the whole process with the creation of the site. I'm sorry, of an Office 365 group. Remember, with the team site, it's definitely a much longer process. With this, it's we're done. We did create an Office 365 group now, and here's the fundamental difference. It's not just the creation of things, but here's the fundamental difference between this group, between the Office 365 group and a SharePoint team site. You know how on SharePoint team site I can alter the look and feel and make it what I want and add web parts, delete web parts, set security. Here, what you see is what you get. And as of today, I mean, and this is constantly changing, but as of today, we have really just four options. Conversations, I'll explain to you later what that means. Files, hope that makes sense. We have a calendar, and we have a notebook. That's all. There are no other web parts you can add to this group. And actually, what I'm saying right now is partially correct. As of today, that is actually a true statement, but soon Office 365 group and team site will be kind of married together, so you will have that option. But as of today, you can only, what you see is what you get. The only really customization you can do here is change the logo. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So change the logo. Here we go. All right, perfect. That's all. Now, what I would like to do now, and actually I think I have a question, so let me address that. Question from Daval, can we integrate Office 365 groups calendar in SharePoint? I don't think so. I don't think so. Good question, yeah, but I don't think you can. All right, let me now show you. So essentially, if you don't mind, this is a new group that I just created, so I don't really have a lot of content in here, but I would like to go to the group that I already set up before, and this is the group, and I already have some, content in here, so it's exactly the same kind of look and feel, just a little bit different logo, image, but I do have content. So let's go one by one. And I would like to explain because what all of these options are, but most importantly, I would like to explain to you what these options, how they make sense to you in terms of project management, right? The idea behind this webinar is to demonstrate really project management capabilities within Office 365 groups. So the first option is conversation. So what is conversation? So if you recall, and I'm sure you asked that question yourself before, the number one kind of complaint, or not complaint, maybe request in SharePoint was we always wanted to store emails as part of, in our SharePoint site. Yeah, we could store tasks and documents, but how do we store emails? And before, in the old days, or even in today's world, if you want to store emails with SharePoint, you really have three options. The first option, if you can enable email on a document library, but that option is only available for those who are on premises. If you are on SharePoint Online, you cannot really allow, for emails to come in and to be stored in a document library. You cannot enable that. It's only for those who are on premises. The second option, which is available in SharePoint Online, you can add a site mailbox. If you go and add a web part, you can go ahead and add a site mailbox web part, okay? But what this does, it pretty much creates a separate kind of Outlook account, which is kind of separated from the site, and it's not really well integrated, but it does create a separate mailbox kind of account where you can forward and where you can store the email in. The third option is if you wanted to store emails, let's say as in the document library, then the third option would be for you to purchase a third-party tool and probably pay lots and lots of money for that and essentially support it and store all your emails. This would allow you to store all your emails in SharePoint. All right. However, what conversations, and that's where conversations feature comes in. Essentially, remember when I created my Office 365 group, it kind of created the email address, kind of almost like a distribution list for my group, for my Office 365 group. And what this does, it's pretty much all your email conversations, as long as you have that email address, copied on your emails, you can essentially all the emails, the whole history, the whole email log will be stored right here in one spot. And you can start, you can obviously send an email from your Outlook, but let's say I'm already here. If I want to start a new conversation in here, let's do prepare status report. Here we go. I just sent an email. Everyone who is subscribed to my list will get an email notification. So you see my conversation is right here. All right, let me just close it out. Perfect. Okay. All right, so I just got an email, and my email conversation stays here. And the beauty about this is you can reply. It's a threaded discussion, right? So it keeps the whole conversation in one spot. Just emailed mine or whatever. All right, perfect. So you have the whole history. Now let's talk about in the context of project management. How many times, and I bet you've been in these situations, I've been in those situations many, many times, how many times you come into the project which maybe started 6 months ago, and you have to catch up and see, what's going on. You kind of have to jump into the project. So usually what happens, they give you access to like a shared drive and tell you, yeah, go ahead and read all the documents. Yeah, that's great. But what, imagine, I really need to know what happened in terms of decision making, and I would like to really see some of the history, what happened in the last six months. So this is priceless. This is priceless to me. This is priceless from a project management perspective. I mean, not just your emails, your files are stored in one place. You also have all your email conversations stored in one place. So you can really just go through and familiarize yourself with what happened, how the certain decisions have been made, et cetera, et cetera. Extremely powerful, feature of Office 365 groups from a project management perspective. Question from Candy. Do you see an issue with combining SharePoint sites document storage with Office 365 groups? Possibly multiple places to store information for a single team. I think it's a valid question, Candy. It is exactly what it is. You actually brought up a good point. As of today, you're absolutely right. If I start a team site and then I start an Office 365 groups, they will be two different places. As I said, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. As I said, both team site and Office 365 group will be the same, just pretty soon. So. I guess to answer your specific question, soon the two different sites will be one and there will be one place. I agree, it's probably a bit confusing right now. It does create a separate placeholder, it does create a separate space to store files, and this might be confusing, but this is constantly evolving. The truth of the matter is maybe next time I deliver this webinar, it will look completely different and we'll have a different set of features. So definitely a valid point. All right, let's move on. So the second thing I want to show you is the file management. And let me click on files, and it opens up a separate tab. And look what we have. What we have is probably something that looks familiar to you. It looks exactly like OneDrive, right? It looks exactly like OneDrive, except obviously, these are the files that belong to this particular project. Now, the complaint that I have right now is that it's not a very, I guess, integrated experience. You see, I wish I could easily go back to my Office 365 group. It kind of opened a different tab, and my header changed a little bit. So, but hopefully, this will be improved down the road. So, but look, what you have essentially here is almost like a OneDrive-like file repository where you can store and manage your files. And obviously, this will be files accessible by all the members within Office 365 group. But let me show you a little bit more, and this is something that, I guess one of the latest developments. Let me do this. So I am an Office 365 group file repository, and this obviously is just like document library. And look at this. If I go to library settings, so I'm going behind the scenes in Office 365 groups to that specific library, and look at this. We're not going to go and create it right now, but you essentially have almost the same capabilities like you do in a team site. You see how I have my library on a team site with metadata? I can do exactly the same in my Office 365 group. So it's not just files and folders like in your own OneDrive. I can also go ahead and create columns here and create my custom metadata for my Office 365 group. Now, so for those of you who are in love with metadata, just like I am, this is obviously extremely powerful because you can utilize your document library and essentially set it up with metadata. And once again, I think we will just see this feature developing more and more as Office 365 group is tightly integrated with the team site. Okay, so definitely, and from project management standpoint, look, I mean, I think metadata makes all the sense from project management standpoint. If I have multiple projects, I don't want to come into a repository and see different files and folders and different ways to organize information. I bet we all have the same project charters and SOWs and whatever budget documents and the same types of documents between all the projects. So metadata is a great way to standardize that, and Office 365 groups allow for that functionality. All right, let's move on. I think I have another question. Question from Heidi, what would cause me not to see the option to add a mail app? Yeah, Heidi, I'm not sure what would cause you to do that. Probably the permission thing. It's probably best to contact your IT admin. All right. Question from Christopher, who has the right to customize the Office 365 group? Or can anyone mess with it? Great question, Christopher. Only the user who created the group and your IT admin are the two people who can mess around with your Office 365 group. All right? And, okay. Carolyn, I still don't understand your question. Maybe the best thing to do would be for you to send me an email after the session. I will be more than happy to answer that. All right, so we just covered conversations. We just covered files. Let's talk about calendar for the moment. All right, so click on calendar, and once again, I have the same complaint that I mentioned before. It kind of, see there is no easy way for me to come back to my Office 365 group, or, the conversations and stuff. I have to click the back button. My thing kind of disappears, my banner disappears, but I'm pretty sure this will be more integrated. All right, so look, let's talk about the calendar. And let me first explain what you see, and then I'll talk about the benefits from project management standpoint. So look, calendar is obviously, probably you know how that works, right? You have a calendar right now, calendar web part on a team site that you can add, and you can add as many calendars as you want, of course. But let's see what you have here. Look, what I have here, is not one but multiple calendars, and let me show you what's happening here. So right now we're in this project called Company Barbecue, but I can go and select and deselect other groups I'm part of. And as I do that, it overlays my calendars. It overlays my calendars in one big screen. So if I were to maybe add an event, let me just add an event here. Let's add a new event. Meeting, whatever. All right. As I create my events, I can tell Office 365 groups which calendar I want to add it to. I can add it to, my personal calendar, or I can add it to my group, to Office 365 group calendar. Let's do that. All right. And here we go. Here is my meeting been added. But as you can see, I don't just get one calendar displayed here. I get multiple ones. In SharePoint, if you have like multiple calendars on different sites, you can utilize overlay feature if you wanted to kind of overlay the calendar and roll up multiple calendars. I actually published a blog post on this topic. So you could overlay the calendars on SharePoint, but it's a pretty manual exercise, and I think you can only roll up to 10 calendars. Here, you don't have to do anything. Any groups you're part of will automatically display their calendars, and you can easily overlay different calendars. So think of this. I bet you are part of 5, 10 different project teams. This is, from project management perspective, extremely powerful. I can easily see if I have my different meetings, conflict with each other. I can easily see if I guess I just added an event and I got a notification about that. But this is really priceless from project management perspective, because you can easily overlay the different calendars and see if events kind of conflict with each other or your personal calendar. So extremely powerful capability. And as you use more, of course, right, as you use more, this feature more and more, of course, it will make more sense. Okay. Question from Shelley: can external users access conversations? Great question, Shelley. I am addressing this as part of today's webinar, so we'll address it in a few minutes. All right. Some of you folks are asking very specific questions related to your unique situations, and I will only be able to answer questions related to this particular topic we're covering. If you have a very specific question on SharePoint or anything related to that, just send me an email. I will do my best to respond to that. All right, so once again, I don't have an easy way for me to kind of go back to my Office 365 group, so I have to kind of go through the app launcher. So let's navigate back. Okay, the last thing you can really do in your site is Notebook. Okay, you have this Notebook. Now, Notebook is nothing new for those of you who are in SharePoint Online. Anytime you create a new site, actually I don't have a link here, but anytime you add a new create a new project site or team site in SharePoint or any type of site, it does create a notebook kind of by default. And it does the same thing here. So if I click on Notebook, it opens up another tab, and what it is, you guessed it, it's a OneNote essentially embedded right on this Office 365 group. And once again, I do find more and more organizations using OneNote. It's obviously a big change of behavior for many, but think about this. Not always, right, with a team site and maybe all the different web parts you have, look, you want to quickly document your meeting minutes. You want to maybe add some notes, or a phone call you just had with a client or vendor. You want to keep these notes. You really don't want to create documents and don't know where to store it. You can really keep a log of your notes. In this case, you see I'm using OneNote to organize my meeting minutes, or even run my meetings with agendas and stuff, you see. So definitely extremely powerful, definitely something to consider that you use in your teams to really keep the content and organize the content that really doesn't fit any other buckets. And yeah, you can actually do quite a bit with OneNote. You can embed things, pictures, videos, links, lots of text, and you can organize different sections, pages. So definitely something worth considering. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is tasks. And obviously, if you look, you don't really have a tasks link in here. Historically, right on the team side, we always utilize the tasks web part, which in my opinion is really great because it allows you to manage tasks in a really nice format, almost like an MS Project format, and you can, you have this nice looking timeline. You can indent tasks, and if you're really a very sophisticated project manager, you can manage your schedule with a Microsoft Project. Now, we don't have this option to manage tasks for now in Office 365 groups. However, what happens is you do have, and maybe some of you might not have it yet, but Microsoft has released this new tool called Office 365 Planner, which is essentially a task management tool, or web-based task management tool that you can use. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of, actually I'm not going to do any demonstration on this, but one thing I want to mention is this. Anytime you create an Office 365 group, it actually creates a plan for you in Office 365 Planner. So you see here is a plan that has been created for me. It's obviously empty. I don't have anything here, but here's the plan that I already did some stuff on. Now, I do see that in future, this will be integrated with probably with Office 365 groups. At this point, I really recommend that you stay away from Planner. I do not think it's ready for prime time. In my opinion, it's still a little bit, it's confusing to me as an end user. It has a little bit weird ways to organize information with boards and plans and buckets. I think it's a little bit more complicated than it should be. Moreover, at the moment, if you use Planner, you can only, and I'm not sure if maybe this was fixed or not, but I just checked recently and lately, and you can only assign a task to a single person. You cannot assign a task to multiple people at the same time. So for now, I recommend, it's a great tool. I think it has lots of potential, but for now, I recommend that you stay away from it until they really figure it out and maybe clean it up and make it more user-friendly. And once again, I do expect to see the planner, maybe even the tasks link in embedded kind of, a link to the planner right from within Office 365 groups. But once again, we'll probably have to wait for that to happen. All right, the next thing I want to discuss is external sharing. And this is actually quite recent. When I was getting ready for this webinar, months and months ago, this functionality was still not there. So, but guess what? Just I think a week or two ago, Microsoft has given us the news that they have enabled external sharing in Office 365 group. So let me show you what you need to do to enable that. There are two things you need to do to, actually three things you need to do to enable external sharing. Number one, your IT admin needs to make sure that you do enable external sharing at the tenant level in your organization. So if you don't have that enabled, then you will not be able to do anything as a project manager or a group owner. Okay, so assuming that has taken place, the next thing you need to do is enable your group to accept external members. What you need to do is click Edit Group over here. And you see down the bottom, and by the way, you can change the name. This is, the same information we kind of did before. You can change security, privacy, I mean. But you see here, let people outside the organization email the group. You need to check that. And by the way, if we don't want our group anymore, either you admin or you as a creator of the group can delete the group, but let's not do it just yet. So you need to enable that checkbox. So that's the second thing you need to do. And the third thing you need to do is you need to add external users. So to do that, you just click on users. This shows my current users in the environment. Just click add and type in the name. Now, of course, you will be typing in, as you can see, it even tells you add colleagues and guests. All right, so I'm going to type in an email address. All right. And it tells me that I'm adding a guest. So, and here I think this was a question from one of the ladies on the webinar. What kind of access will external users get? And here's your answer. Essentially, they will have access to all the group content. That means they will be able to see your conversations. They will be able to access files, and they will be able to edit, and delete files in your repository. Okay. So let's not add, this is kind of a fake email address I did, so let's not email anyone. And what will happen is, that user will get an email notification, and essentially that user will be able to access the files, and that user will be able to also participate in the conversations. All right. Now, and that user will also be able to email to the distribution list just like any other member of the team. So extremely powerful feature, and definitely a welcome addition to Office 365 groups. All right, let me see. I think. Okay, question from one of the attendees. How do you decide which one? There seems to be a lot of options. How do you decide which one is best? I actually do address this in my PowerPoint, so we'll cover that. Okay. And actually, Shelley, I appreciate you correcting me. I think I misspoke. The external users will be able to get, essentially will be able to email the group, but they will not be able to look into the history of conversations. I apologize, I misspoke. Thank you for correcting me. So yeah, just to confirm, your external users will be able to email to the distribution list, and essentially will be able to participate in the conversation, and they will also be able to access your files, and files they will be able to add, edit, and delete. So yeah, thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it. All right, so that's external access, and then let me jump back to the slide deck. Just a couple of more things I want to mention. So I do have some screenshots, and I do have, by the way, instructions for you on how to add external users. So in case if you forget, you might want to download this the slide deck in the next 15 minutes or so. All right, and something I mentioned already a few times, but the latest news from Microsoft is that Office 365 groups and team site will be one soon. So right now, like someone suggested, there are pretty much two different entities. In future, when you create a team site, it will automatically create an Office 365 group, and vice versa. So in that case, right, it will cut down on your decisions you have to make. But the beauty from project management perspective, the beauty is that we will get the full power, the social collaboration, I should say, features of Office 365 groups, the conversation, ability to hold email conversations, I guess I'm getting a little bit, some notifications here. All right, so we will get kind of a little bit of both worlds. We will get the conversation feature, the calendar overlay, the notebook, but at the same time, we will get the flexibility of the team site. At the same time, if you do want to add 15 different web parts and customize it with metadata and really build your own, and maybe embed some custom code if you wish, you will have a chance to do so pretty much on in one location, on one site. All right. So that's that. Once again, I'm not sure exactly the date when it will happen, but I think it will start happening probably, soon. Some of you will see this available within weeks or months. All right. So one of the questions was, well, how do we, at the moment, as of today, how do you choose what is the best option? Well, in my opinion, Office 365 groups, are great for small projects. If you're doing a 2-year project, it's very likely, all right, you will have lots and lots of data. It's very likely you will probably need to manage your schedule with a Microsoft project. So I think for the moment, I recommend that you test out Office 365 groups, for smaller projects when you really don't need any formal project management methodology. You really don't need much oversight. When you really just want to create something, a quick project site and just get going. And also, of course, bear in mind, there is not much you can do as far as security settings. In project site, you can really do unique security and say this library will be seen by this people, this library will be seen by other people, and et cetera, et cetera. You cannot do that with Office 365 group yet. So I think I mentioned already, I did publish a number of blog posts on Office 365 groups, as well as project management in Office 365 groups. So definitely encourage you to check it out. The links, just go ahead and follow them from the handout, and feel free to read my blog posts. I do offer a number of webinars. As a matter of fact, I do have another webinar taking place tomorrow on Project Online. That's also a full webinar, just like it is today. But I do have a schedule, I think, going into January. If I'm not mistaken, most of the webinars are full at the moment, but I will be constantly adding more, so stay tuned, and I really hope to see you in my future webinars. Lastly, here's my contact information. Feel free to sign up for my newsletter, follow me on social media, and connect with me or send me an email, whatever is convenient for you. And I think we're doing great on time. So it's a project management webinar, so we're right on time. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I would like to open it up for Q&A. And let's see. Question from Dana. Do you think there will be a template? I assume, Dana, you're asking a question about Office 365 group. I don't think so, but what will happen is, look, currently we do have the template capability in SharePoint team side, and I think once the two are married together, you will be able to save your team site as a template. I mean, I suspect that's how it will work. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, we'll have to wait and see when this functionality is available, but I suspect it will just, keep working in the same manner as it does today. All right. All right, cool. All right, just got a bunch of thank yous. I appreciate it. It looks like everyone enjoyed the webinar, but we still have a few minutes left, folks, so I will there are a few questions. Any insight on the new Microsoft Teams in Office 365? Look, yeah, this is all news to all of us, and it was kind of expected. But Microsoft released this new capability called Teams, Office 365 Teams, and it's something new. It's something that will allow you to manage your. It's very similar to Office 365 groups, actually. But it's going to have more functionality. It's going to be web-based, one-stop shop for any team collaboration. Like you will be able to chat, connect through Skype, access OneDrive, SharePoint, schedule meetings, all in one spot. I'm not sure how it will play out with Office 365 groups just yet. Literally, the announcement came out from Microsoft just literally a few days ago, so we'll just have to wait and see. And I don't recommend that you jump in on the tool the minute it comes out. I do recommend that you wait a little bit and just wait till it stabilizes and it's stable enough for you and your organization to use. Question from Anjali. I saw a link to OneNote from both the Planner and Office 365 group. Is it the common notebook? Yes, I believe it is. It goes to the same space, Anjali. Yeah. A question from Christopher. Where do the group Office 365 group documents reside. They reside here, Christopher. And look, actually, in this, I didn't really want to go into technical details too much, but on this webinar. But since the question was raised, I will explain how it works. Look at the address. So what it does, every time you know how when you create a team site, it just creates a sub-site. Anytime you create a new Office 365 group, it actually creates a new site collection for you. So what happens is it's pretty much a new site collection for every Office 365 group. All right, and then the files, the folders reside on that particular site collection. Here they are. So if you need to move stuff after, the thing is, like, you should really move away from moving stuff. The beauty about team sites is when the project is done, so my project is done, you really don't need, I really discourage my clients from moving sites or migrating sites to another place. There is no need for you to do that. Just go and flip security to read-only and leave the site where it is so it becomes a permanent archive. You don't really need to move stuff anywhere. Look, it's going to be your business decision with your, I guess your business decision with Office 365 groups, but you really want to leave stuff where it is. You really do not want to move stuff. I mean, you don't want to be in the business of migration. You want to be in the business of project management. So that's why it's really important to think through the proper, information architecture before you really proceed with the team sites or Office 365 groups. Yeah, question from one of the users is Outlook integrated. Yes, Outlook is integrated. You can send, well, the way it's integrated is you can send an email, like if I were to go to my Outlook, for example, and let's see what, yeah, let me see, I think I need to be, oh, okay, let me just come back to my Outlook. So if I'm in my Outlook now, I can just type an email of my distribution list for my Office 365 group right from here, and that's as far as the integration, right? Send an email, and then we should see this message pop up here in the group because I just sent it to the whole list. Okay, you see, here we go. I just got it. So, and of course, you can access all the Office 365 groups right from within your Outlook, web-based Outlook. If you're talking about integrating with your Office desktop, no, it's only going to be web-based integration. Okay, a question from Anjali: can I set granular permission for documents within Office 365 groups? Yeah, I believe you can. And let's see if that's an option. Yeah, I believe you can. I mean, I don't want to. I believe you should be able to. So let me just see what's going on here. Actually, you know what? I don't see the permission. You know what? I take it back. You might not be able to. And that's the thing. I mean, to be honest, it's a great question, but you really do want to stay away from unique permission in your library. I think. Let me see. Maybe. Let's see if we can set unique permission. Or maybe, you know what, let's see. I think you might be able to set unique permission through file or folder. Yeah, you can. So I guess this is not something I was hoping to do unique permission at the library level, but I didn't see that option. But at the folder level, you can bring the inheritance that way. So it's just like OneDrive. It works just like OneDrive, where you will be able to set unique permissions. Yeah. But once again, I want to repeat myself. I do discourage that you do that. You really want to stay at the site level or at the group level. Otherwise, you are getting yourself into a nightmare of security management. And I do encourage everyone. I always encourage my clients to stay, manage security at the site level. All right. Good questions, folks. Appreciate it. Let me see if we have any additional questions. All right, I don't think we see any. So folks, I really appreciate your attendance, really appreciate your time today, great questions. And at this point, I wish everyone a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. And like I said, I will be posting the video on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance today, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.